Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hello. I'm Joe. I'm the head of content at an event called Shop Talk, which is a kind of a cousin or sibling event to Possible. I'm so excited to be here with you on the masterclass stage for day 2. Thank you so much for being here early in the morning. As somebody who's on stage a fair amount, it's kind of ingrained in me to take my name tag off before I go on stage, just because from a photo perspective, it kind of looks better not to have the clanky thing. And sometimes they're really jingly, and that gets annoying when you're wearing a mic. But I figured for this session it would be appropriate to keep it on because we're going to be talking about identity for the next half hour. Wouldn't it be easier if everybody online and offline had one of these with a photo and their name and you could tell who they were? That is not the world we're living in, but we have 3 experts coming on stage to talk about some of the newer ways that companies are starting to navigate that in an open ecosystem kind of way to help understand who people are and therefore serve them better. So I am not going to take any more of your time except to say thank you once again for being here in what is probably the literally coolest room in all of Miami Beach. Next year, there will be possible pashminas for everybody, but for now, please stay as warm as you can. We might do a mid-session break and have everybody move around a little bit, but until then, fight the frostbite. Thank you so much for being here, and it is my great pleasure to introduce Fabrice Beer-Gabel, who is the VP of Strategy and Partnership at Intent IQ, John Koenigsberg, who is the VP of Strategy and Partnership at Horizon Media, and Mike Shields, the founder and host of Next in Media. Please welcome them to the stage.
Thanks, boss.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to my masterclass. We're going to talk about a really simple topic, no issues really. Identity fragmentation. We're going to talk about the challenge that everyone faces with siloed data and all these changes that have gone in the last couple of years. But we're going to try and flip the conversation towards how that can be used as an opportunity for growth. So I think we probably should start with just help setting the stage. Maybe John, you can get us going here. What is really fundamentally changed in the marketing ecosystem right now that people need to understand to try and wrap their head around where things are headed and how they can take advantage of what's going on?
Yeah. Well, also good morning, Mike. It's great
to
be with you.
Yes.
Great to be with
Hi,
you,
guys.
Fabrice. I think the obvious answer is that technology is playing this massive role in marketing now. I think the two are totally braided together. I think the deeper aspect of that is that AI is enabling marketers to create a truly connected system, especially that brings their media and creative together, but also data and identity, measurement, planning, all in one system. And that is creating an incredible moment of flux and complexity for the marketer to figure out how to build the right system for their brand, because there's no one-size-fits-all in that. That's a huge part of what I do at Horizon. I lead our technology partner ecosystem. Within that, I oversee Horizon OS Labs, which is how we help our brands navigate that complexity. Up here, we have a snapshot of the RFI that we just ran, which is a key instrument for how we help brands vet the market and surface new opportunities.
What were you trying to figure out here?
We're trying to figure out a lot. We have several innovation pillars that we hone in on as a company that really give us more focus in what is an ecosystem. The last stat I saw, there were 2,500 new MarTech and AdTech companies that entered the space in just the last 12 months. 80% of those claim to be AI native technology. Another 1,200 just vanished and went out of business. And a third of those were new AI native technologies that have, unfortunately, didn't make it.
You can't just get them all on your calendar and figure it out.
No, they don't all decide we're going to go into business on May 1st. So this is a way that we can systematically uncover innovations. It's actually how the first instance of this back in 2025 was how we ended up collaborating with Intent IQ, and we'll talk a little bit about the results later.
Fabrice, you want to jump in on sort of the lay of the land here, or the state of affairs?
I mean, just to piggyback on what John's saying, I think AI is creating this influx of change, and but it creates tremendous opportunity for growth and for differentiation. But let's keep in mind that AI can scale errors the same way it can scale performance.
Right.
And so, we're in the identity space. In identity, what that means is potentially engaging the wrong audience. It's creating privacy risk. It's wasting spend. It's very significant. So I think what's more important than ever is validated accuracy. And the systems that are changing and the systems we know and what you're doing through what Horizon is doing and what you're leading there is a process of building these next generation AI systems that people can trust and verify.
All right, so every brand wants to grow and they want to take advantage of this moment we're in. Where is the growth actually kind of constrained right now, John? How much of that is driven by this identity and signal fragmentation?
I think it's interesting. I was talking a moment ago about just the landscape and looking outward and how we do that, but the real bottleneck is actually often inside the four walls of the company. We asked in the RFI, we asked a ton of questions, so we actually have a little bit of the data on it. And the number one answer for what's constraining innovation was change management and talent readiness, and the second answer was data readiness. And both of those things are really more like an introspective thing for a company to figure out.
It's not the capabilities; it's the
it's getting ready.
Fabrice, what's your take?
I mean, certainly a human factor, but I would also say that growth is constrained where identity signals break, or where they're incomplete, or where their identity is siloed. Think iOS versus Android. Think cookieless browsers. Think CTV. At scale, I got a little visual here for you, I think. At scale, we're talking about over half of the mobile devices in the US. We're talking about over 70 million desktops and a significant portion of CTV content that basically is without identifiers. And that means that common audience targeting tactics are ineffective. And brands have settled for this lower performance because it's been really hard and challenging to crack through this. But what's changed with those systems and those technologies is that those constraints are not solvable.
Right. We waited around for the cookie, whether it was coming back or not. Regardless, look at the landscape now. There's a feeling there's a lot of untargetable stuff, and we're talking about how we can take advantage of that. Okay, so sticking with you, Fabrice, let's talk about audience amplification. What is it, and why does this matter for marketers right now?
So audience amplification extends identity signals into those hard-to-reach environments. And what that means is it does that by working with validated accuracy in compliance with privacy and with measurable incrementality. And that's key here. Those three parameters are really essential. That's really where amplification works. It takes existing data and existing systems, and that's the work we've been doing together, John, and with Horizon. It takes those existing systems and makes them work where they typically don't. So it's really an opportunity for net new value to be unlocked through reach, through efficient CPMs, without doing complete revamps of infrastructure.
So John, at Horizon, you guys have been pretty vocal about how you've built your proprietary platform, Blue, and it's an operating system. Maybe talk about that and how that fits together. How can that take advantage of audience amplification?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot to talk about under the umbrella of Blue, but I guess in relation to audience amplification, I think it's important to talk about the data strategy for Blue. We're very intentional about that data strategy in terms of signal purity. And I think that signal purity really comes down to two things. And we talk about deterministic and atomic are kind of if we unpack that signal purity. The deterministic piece is that on a one-to-one basis, we're mapping behaviors, what someone's watching on TV or geolocation or internet browsing, purchase, et cetera, back to a person. That's a deterministic piece. The atomic piece is that we're bringing that data in at the absolute most granular level we can. So if it's viewership data, it's what show they're watching minute to minute at the most granular detail. If it's purchase data, we're seeing the entire shopping cart and every SKU in the shopping cart. So that gives us, I mean, if you think about those two pieces together, validated behavior at the most granular level, that gives you just an amazing canvas for segmentation. But there's a trade-off. Trade-off is if you want purity, then you can sometimes lack scale. And so any signal amplification, identity amplification, audience amplification is like a match made in heaven with that strategy, because you're not compromising on the kind of precision in how you're building audiences, how you're segmenting, how you're gathering insights, how you're measuring, and then you pair that with a solution like what you've built, and we can reach those audiences in more places.
Okay, so we've kind of been talking about this at a very high level and what the state of affairs and what you're capable of. You guys have actually been at this. And we have some fresh results that are hot off the press. Talk about how you're both your companies are been working together on this amplification product.
Well, I'll start, and then you can talk about kind of what we've been up to. But I mentioned at the top we ran our first RFI last year. And through that process, we formed cohort 1, which was 16 companies that are solving real challenges for the marketer across many areas, creative and media. And Intent IQ was part of that first cohort. And these cohorts are all about running pilots and testing these technology hypotheses on real campaigns. We just talked about how fresh these results are. We weren't even sure we'd get the slide in, but we actually launched a campaign we're going to talk about. Was it even a week ago? How long ago did we launch?
It went live last week.
Last week, and it's amazing. One of the other stats I found a little dubious in the RFI is that 85% of the companies said that they deliver speed to value in about a week or two, which I was like,
Yeah.
That is not our experience. But the fact that we went live last week and we have some results, I think, is a credit to, that's true sometimes. And, so
That's inspiring.
But it's also a credit to great collaboration and great teams and hard work on both sides.
This is true.
Nothing happens in a vacuum. First of all, it doesn't fall off a tree. Horizon has been innovating. Blue is not a new thing. Blue was one of the first, if maybe the first, I don't know, of bringing AI and identity into an open stack. And then, great teams have been meeting and collaborating and working through this. And yeah, now we have, results just in time.
All right, so you're teasing everybody here. What can, without revealing too much, what kind of results can you talk about? It again, really early, but it sounds like.
Yeah. So before results, let me explain kind of what was the setup for people to understand and get a better, more practical context. So basically, we worked with a large retail brand, client of Horizon, and we took known blue audiences, which are Horizon's data and blue audiences, and we extended them into those hard-to-reach environment that I was mentioning earlier. Then the activation, okay, that was for audience. The activation was also amplified, but doing so by working within existing workflows and with existing DSP partners and without changing the way media is being bought. That's the whole point here of amplification. And then for measurement, we did a structured approach with a based group and then an exposed amplify group. And that allowed us to evaluate uplift. And all of that was set up as an extension to a live campaign. So we could measure incrementality in real time at the person level and dedupe any overlap that might be needed. It's very clean kind of test environment to see what's going on. Results?
Well, before we do the results, my assumption is, maybe you can speak to a big retailer, the playbook is they're going to be performance driven. They're going to stick with deterministic or shoppable environments. Is there a feeling among those brands that like this kind of thing is just really has been difficult today historically? Like I can't do what I like to do in these unidentifiable environments. Is that like kind of fair to say that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also important that all of the testing and experimentation and pilots we run, they don't start from us finding a technology and then kind of like trying to throw it at the wall and find somebody interested in it. It starts the other way. It starts with client business challenges at the center, and that really is what shapes and prioritizes what we go and seek out and what rises to the top. So I think it's exactly that. It's because these challenges have a voice in the work that's happening with our clients, and then the people who are working on that business day in and day out become the champions in executing a lot of the pilots. And so Fabrice was just talking about the amazing collaboration that's there. He's talking about the people on the business who are thrilled to have found something they think can address a meaningful challenge, but also an opportunity.
Right, to grow the business. All right, enough dancing around this for.
You said we're teasing.
I'm just milking this thing. All right, let's talk about the results. So it's early, but what are you seeing?
Anybody get the drums? Okay, well, so we measured across the funnel, basically top to bottom, and what we're seeing is, I don't remember the exact numbers, 43.8% incremental reach, unique reach after deduped. So we've got, we deduped about 1 to 1.5% overlap. So it's really net new incremental, reach. But then as we follow the journey of those users, we're seeing an increase, an uplift in site visits and purchases. So really we're going all the way down the funnel. This is not just theoretical, playground with AI data. This is, at the end, this is business results, business outcomes for the brands, and it's success for, the team and supporting that brand.
Okay, so you see those terrific results. Again, it's early, but it's really promising. I'm a marketer in this room. I feel like I'm worried I'm maxed out on my identifiable audiences. I want to keep growing my business. What do they do? What do they need to think about? John?
Call Fabrice and his team.
Okay, easy.
If they don't have an agency, I'm sending them back.
No, I mean, I think seriously, obviously, for those that weren't aware of these capabilities, hopefully now you are. I think the only thing I would add to that is I think being hypothesis driven in how you approach innovation. So it's okay to experiment, but I think it's so much more valuable to say, here's what we believe will happen. Here's the provable hypothesis in terms of how we think this is going to impact our business. And importantly, like, here's what we will do depending on the results so that you can actually mobilize quickly off the back of an experiment. Otherwise, it's like, okay, we have these results. What do we do? So starting to get people aligned to what you're actually testing and what we're going to do about it depending on what we see, I think is a huge piece to pair with, how do I get started?
All right. And then they call you, Fabrice. What do they do?
Start small. First of all, it's important to realize that there's potentially untapped value in existing infrastructure. And so testing this means start small, define a simple KPI you want to focus on initially, and then validate, scale, validate, scale. That's the process. Keeping in mind that you want to validate accuracy of results. That's important.
All right, taking a step back a little bit. So like reconciling identities is often seen as this like thorny challenge. It's almost, I think some of the industry almost throws their hands up like, oh, we're in a walled garden world. You can't do this kind of thing. How do you demonstrate to brands, and especially their CFOs these days, that it's not just a a nice thing to be able to have a better marketing strategy, but it's actually tied to growth, that you can actually tie identity resolution to the bottom line? What's the right way to communicate that?
I can start. I think identity and a lot of what we were talking about here in terms of additional reach and whatnot ties to thinking about identity as a way to address audiences and reach them. But it plays an equal role on the measurement side in terms of how we tie outcomes back to the media that we're using to reach the consumer in the first place. And that's how we're seeing ROI, is we are addressing these audiences, but then we want to see what they did downstream of that exposure. And so the better identity signal we have, and the more we can see from not just a targeting standpoint, but from a measurement standpoint, the more we can link marketing activity to results. And I think that's the bridge with the CFO. It's the thing that turns identity not just into a key and valuable facet for the marketer, but something that gives the CFO more confidence in what that is doing for the business. And ultimately, from an amplification perspective, captures more. Like we can see in those results, there's just a lot that's missing if you're not able to uncover what's happening in these environments that identity is opaque.
Fabrice, you're nodding. Do you have anything to add?
And yeah, I agree. What I would tell the CFO is identity is not a cost center. It's a revenue and it's a growth driver. That's the first thing. Think of broken identity signals. It's like a bad supply chain. You get leakage, you lose product, you waste spend. It's just inefficient. With a finely tuned machine that extends signals properly with validated accuracy, again, you just increase opportunity, outcome, revenue, traceability, visibility, better allocation of capital. I just find a few other keywords to throw in for the CFO to be happy.
Right, whatever motivates them.
Whatever works, man.
Right. All right. Let's talk about how does all that we're talking about here kind of connect into the bigger shift that we're seeing in marketing, but towards open systems, being clearly AI-driven decision making, and obviously everything is outcomes based. How does all this tie together, and what should marketers, if next week they go back to the office, what should they be asking? What should they be doing?
Well, I talked at the top about how AI especially is allowing us to create these connected systems. Two principles that we've been circling in this conversation that I think are essential to those systems functioning well is context and flow. And by that I mean what signals are you feeding the system? Fabrice talked about how AI can accelerate not just the good decision making, but the bad decision making. So having good source of truth in that system for what's powering decisions is critical. And then the flow is how much can I propagate those signals to everywhere that I need them, whether that's connecting insights from planning to creative, or measurement back to planning, or how do I reach audiences in the places that I need. So flow in that system is critical, and context in that system is critical. That's I think essential. In terms of what I would do as a marketer, I also talked about readiness and data readiness and change management and kind of the need to look inward. I think a simple thing that anyone can do is do a truth audit of your current marketing system. What do I actually trust? How much can I leverage what I actually trust? There might be things I trust, but they're not embedded in the way my team is able to work or the way my system operates. And then also, what do I actually rely on right now that I'm not sure I trust? I think if a team reflects on those three buckets, I think they'll have a lot more clarity on it.
You don't want to jump into the right testing without the organizational stuff ready first. Fabrice, anything to add there?
I think my takeaway I'd like to communicate is that we don't realize as much this untapped value in existing data and infrastructure. And we can make the data work harder within the right guardrails, which is what Horizon is building, that trust element. And there's so much more value that can be untapped. That's untapped and can be unlocked. So I think that's an important takeaway that I'd like to share. And as always, going back to people and the collaboration and how great teams and people who find focus and work together towards a common goal.
You can't just have your AI agents just do all this stuff for you to take care of
Exactly.
it.
No, I was going to say, no matter how much AI you throw into it, eventually it's people working with people.
All right. We have a few minutes. Do we have any audience questions? Anybody want to jump in? This gentleman in the front row is. Here comes the mic.
Hi. So because I'm greedy, I have two questions. So the first one is just if you can give us an idea of the size of the test campaign you ran, because those results were absolutely incredible. But I think understanding the scale and how replicable that is at a large scale is important. And the second one is, talking about what's next. I would love this panel's view on AdCP as, potential sort of new ways to enrich signals, and you talked about this atomic level, doing it at the most granular level. So I think that's an interesting angle. So those are the two questions.
Could you say which company you're with?
Yes, I'm the CEO of Augury.
Augury, okay.
Yes.
I recognize the accent for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. Enchanté.
Do you want to take the test one? I can take the AdCP one.
Sure. The test one, by the way, I don't know if it's okay. I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose so much data.
Yeah,
We've cleared with the team the percentages, but I don't have approval from the client team to disclose specific numbers. So I can be.
I was testing you. This is for us. This is.
I think it's fine.
You passed. You passed.
All right, man.
I would say it's typical of a test campaign. So not enormous, not teeny. What the team felt was suitable to validate a scalable result.
And I'll say that, we've got already a lot of experience with this. And now it's me speaking without the support of Horizon. I can tell you this stuff scales. I know it. We've seen it. We know it. Millions and tens of millions of people level reach measurement outcomes on those various ID-less environments that I mentioned earlier.
Remind me what your question exactly about AdCP is, because.
Obviously it's a very new and emerging standard. And your thoughts as to what degree of adoption you think it will get in the next few months and years, and how as an agency you.
Yeah, I think so. Also, I'll just briefly address what AdCP is for those that may not be as familiar. But it's an emerging protocol for how agents will communicate with each other to transact and to steward advertising. It's I would say part of an ongoing dialogue of standards overall, because you've also got the IAB Tech Lab.
There's some debate about whether we're going to keep the old stuff or you switch. Is that?
Yeah, so IAB Tech Lab has AMP, and it's, I would say, uses the existing programmatic ecosystem as its primitives. It's all about how we make the existing programmatic stack more agentified. AdCP, I think, has maybe in some ways a more out there view on, it's an opportunity to think from new first principles about what AI technology means for how the whole supply chain operates. And I think I think there's 100% there's value in both, because programmatic isn't going anywhere, and the more we can bring agentic capability to it is amazing. And a lot of our next cohort is filled with opportunities that I think reflect exactly that. And then I think that there is a belief that's at the heart of AdCP, that's very connected to this idea of bringing media and creative together, and how you encode human judgment, and sort of, I think at Horizon we think a lot about the human element in these systems, and a lot of some agentic workflows are really about getting the programmatic pipes humming agentically, but I think a lot of the AdCP work is about how human judgment and human intent and what problems you're trying to solve can be pushed down into how the systems operate, and I think that resonates a lot as well with how Horizon thinks about the durable role of human beings in marketing.
Anybody else want to jump in the last couple of minutes here? Fabrice, I'll ask you one last one that we didn't talk about. Do you think this, you talked about the idealist environments, including CTV, that's an area where there's so much potential, but it hasn't really, precise targeting has still sort of been elusive. But do you think is there a potential there for this kind of thing to really help that?
Tons.
All right.
You want me to elaborate?
Well, yeah.
Second question?
What's going to help us get there? Get there fast.
I mean, it comes back to the same thing. But I'd say in CTV, what you're saying is it all feels like one and the same, but there's different types of signals, and there's pockets of inventory where users are better or not as well identified. And eventually, what that means is the ability to reach into pretty much the same household, but with more or less granularity, more or less efficiency. So amplification will work in those areas as well. And there's tons of scale, there's tons of inventory to optimize.
We're getting bigger. It's really early. So tons of potential.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. On that note, gentlemen, thanks for a terrific conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Thanks so much.
Oh, picture time.
Photo time.
Photo. I'll just stand over here and thank you all for being here. Fabrice, Mike, congratulations on some really impressive research. Fabrice, John, sorry. Mike, thank you for leading a really good conversation. We're going to take a little break, but we will be back at 10:15 with a fascinating conversation. eMarketer and Dix talking about youth sports as a marketing opportunity. Thank you.